Yo, what is going on, guys? And welcome back to 365 Analytics. And today it is Thursday afternoon, and as usual, we are back on the channel, Week 10 NFL game picks. We are rolling through the season. NFL, slow down as we are already in Week 10. We are already officially past the halfway point of the season. The NFL trade deadline has passed, and we are officially in the grind and run towards the NFL playoffs at this point, towards the second half of the year. So yeah, before I get into today's video, if you guys do enjoy today's video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more content, weekly content exactly like this. Without further ado, let's get right into it. We have some business to talk about first. Our record last week, it was horrible. We went 5-9 on the week, obviously only being 14 games with 4 bye weeks. But it was an absolute disaster last week, to say the least. 5-9. I kind of said it in last week's video. I took a lot of big swings, took a lot of upsets. I kind of rushed the game picks video last week, but that's the consequences I suffered. And with that record, that brings our overall record on the season to 79, 55, and 1. And we are still perfect on our lock of the week, somehow at 9-0, a perfect 9-0, but we are 2-7 on the upset side of things. So yeah, let's start this thing off right. Starting off with Thursday Night Football tomorrow night when I'm recording this, but tonight when this video goes up, it is a good old AFC West rivalry between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Denver Broncos. The Raiders, they were very well in the game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. Geno Smith had one of his better games the entire season. Brock Bowers, he was back healthy coming off the bye, obviously. He scored 3 touchdowns, so he balled out, and they went to an overtime game with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Pete Carroll opted to go for two. Geno Smith's pass was tipped at the line, and the Jaguars end up escaping 30-29 in that game to drop the Raiders. I believe the Raiders are 2-6 at this point. As for the Broncos side of things, they are firing on all cylinders right now, especially defensively. They've had multiple come from behind wins this season. Obviously, people remember the Eagles game, people remember the Giants game, but even last week we saw it. The Texans were up 15-7 at one point during the game. Ended up going for two, scored a touchdown, tied it up at 15. Will Lutz kicked the game-winning field goal in the very next drive. Denver ends up coming from behind and brings their record to 7-2, and they are one of the class of the AFC right now, currently leading the AFC West. And yeah, so these two teams, I mean, this is a good old AFC West rivalry. Always, obviously, these two teams know each other, so I don't think it will be an absolute blowout. But I'm taking the Denver Broncos right now. I think Brock Bowers will have a decent game. I think Ashton Genty will get his. But in the end, Sean Payton's coming ready on a short week like this. Denver is the better team here, and I think they will evidently get it done tomorrow to go to 8-2 and continue their streak of being tied for the number one seed in the AFC. So yeah, I think Denver ends up getting it done. Next up, we go back to international series in the NFL. We have two more 9:30 a.m. Eastern international games on tap. But in Berlin this weekend, it is the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The Falcons, they've lost a few games in a row now. I believe their last win was the Buffalo Bills game where I mean, they just played well. They beat the Buffalo Bills. They beat one of the best teams in the AFC. Since then, they've looked very soft. Losing to New England last week, Drake London scored 3 touchdowns. Drake London had a great game. But Bijan Robinson, they've lost to the Dolphins, they've lost to the Patriots. Bijan Robinson has been shut down now in the past few games. And he really is the driving force of the Falcons offense. That's been the issue. They missed a tying extra point, which John Parker Romo ended up missing it, and they lost to the Patriots 24-23. As for the Colts, they are coming off their second loss of the season to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers had a very good game. Mike Tomlin had a very good plan for Jonathan Taylor on the ground, and the Colts finally had a loss where it'd be like they got outplayed because the Rams game they lost earlier in the year, it was a very closely contested game. Matthew Stafford Tutu Atwell late all the way back in week 3. So yeah, this one I'm taking the Colts to rebound. Obviously, everybody knows yesterday or on Tuesday at the trade deadline day, they traded for Sauce Gardner, which was obviously a big move. 2 first-round picks. The Colts now have a bona fide number one corner. The secondary goes from a weakness to a strength, and he's expected to play in this game. He's expected to clear concussion protocol for this game. So Sauce Gardner makes his Colts debut overseas. I think the Colts rebound and go to 8-2 here on the season. Next up, it is a NFC South matchup between the New Orleans Saints, who are still stuck at one win, traveling to Carolina, Bank of America Stadium, to take on the Carolina Panthers, led by Bryce Young. As for the Saints, obviously, everybody knew coming into the year it would be a rebuild year. It would be a tough year for Kellen Moore and crew. They ended up going Spencer Rattler to start the season. Ended up changing it now. Tyler Shuck, he will be making his second start in this game. And everybody knew this was a rebuild year for the Saints. Everybody knew this year wasn't going to be anything special. This year is totally about the development of Tyler Shuck. Obviously, Rashid Shaheed was just traded away to the Seattle Seahawks on Tuesday for the trade deadline. And yeah, I mean, Chris Olave is the guy now. Alvin Kamara hasn't looked like himself this season. Carolina's coming off a win versus Green Bay. They're building some momentum. The defense is getting a little bit better every single day. Rico Dowdle has become the bell cow for them. Carolina's doing their thing, man. I'm gonna give it to Carolina here. I don't expect New Orleans to be able to compete in this game. Bryce Young and Dave Canales has done some special things this year. Their offense has been great. Jalen Coker's back in the fold now. Xavier Legas has some good games. Ted McMillan looks great. So I don't see any disagreement with Carolina here. I'm taking Carolina to take care of New Orleans. Next up, we have an NFC matchup between the New York Giants and the Chicago Bears. The Giants, they're coming off a loss last week to Mac Jones and the San Francisco 49ers. Christian McCaffrey tore him up for 4 quarters in the receiving game and the running game. Mac Jones had a very good game, and the Niners just played better for 4 quarters. That's the bottom line. Everybody in New York right now is ecstatic of what Jackson Dart's going to be in the future. Obviously, Cam Scatterbo was hurt a few weeks ago. Malik Neighbors was hurt pretty early in the season, so this is pretty much a wash year for the Giants. We'll see what ends up happening with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane. Does John Mayer give them more time in to get better? We'll see. I think Brian Daboll's probably axed after the season. It'll be a new era for New York. I am already buying my Giants stock for next year. Dart, Scatterbo, and Neighbors all in the fold. The defensive line that they have, but yeah, not this year. As for the Bears, talked about it on the 365 recap on Tuesday. Obviously, they played an absolute thriller last week. Obviously, the defense showed a lot of holes. Joe Flacco tore them up. Jamar Chase had a great game. T. Higgins had a great game. But the Bears ended up getting a win in the end. Caleb Williams had a great game. Kyle Monangai, great game. I mean, DJ Moore made plays. Rome Odunze was shut down by DJ Turner, but that's about it. The Bears did everything else they could have possibly wanted. This game being in Soldier Field, they're 5-3. The NFC North is tight, tight, tight right now. Detroit's coming off a loss. Green Bay's coming off a loss. Minnesota's getting back into the fold with JJ McCarthy. Give me Chicago. I think they're going to get this thing done. And I think they're going to go to 6-3. I don't think Chicago's the class in the NFC, but I thought going into the year, I liked what Ben Johnson was building. I think they're going to be competitive. They're going to be no pushover. We'll see if they end up being a playoff team at the end of the year. But this one at home in Soldier Field, inexcusable. If they lose this game, they're going to get it done, I think. Next up, we have matchup number 2 of the season. We have a few division matchups this year where it's matchup number 2. Here, and yeah, there's a few matchups this week where it's the second match of the year. So teams are officially playing their division opponents twice now. It's kind of crazy to say, but it is an AFC South matchup at 1 o'clock between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. Not gonna lie, this one was very, very, very tough to pick when I was mapping out my game picks. You look at Jacksonville, they're sitting at 5-3 right now. They're well rested off the bye going into the Vegas game. I think it was a little alarming how they started 4-1, dropped 2 in a row, went into the bye week, came out of the bye week, and Brock Bowers and Geno Smith absolutely ripped them apart for 4 quarters. But in the end, Trevor Lawrence did enough. Jacoby Myers has now been shipped off from Vegas to Jacksonville, so Jacoby Myers expected to make his debut in this game. Brian Thomas is banged up. Travis Hunter is on IR now, so we'll see what ends up happening there. But Jacksonville going on the road to take on the Texans. The Texans, obviously, their defense is the class of the NFL. They have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Daniel Hunter, Will Anderson, Derek Stingley back there, Kamari Lassiter. They have absolute guys on the defense that can play football. One of the best overall units in the league. The issue, their offense. Joe Mixon has not played a snap this year. There's been no update on his injury, and people are wondering if Joe Mixon is even alive right now. Nico Collins has dealt with concussion at some point. He played last week, I believe, but he's dealt with some things. I mean, they have some good receivers. CJ Stroud has not had a great season. Davis Mills ends up stepping into the game against Denver last week, so it's a tough game to pick because the Houston's defense really is a good unit and they can keep teams close. but it's a much bigger game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I am not buying the Texans stock anymore. I think their season's pretty much over. If they can win this game, muster up a few wins, maybe they can revive it. But in the end, I think Jacksonville's better. I've been a huge fan with Liam Cohen's building all season. So I'm taking the Jags to go to 6-3 and keep pace in that wild, wild AFC where there's about a million teams. It feels like that can be playoff teams right now, but give me Jacksonville. Next up, it is an AFC East matchup between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins in South Beach. I'm not going to sit here and talk about this one much. Buffalo is one of the best teams in the AFC, if not the very best right now, coming off a win versus the Kansas City Chiefs, where Bills always seem to beat the Chiefs in the regular season. I picked it last week, and that was about the only thing I was worried about last week. They did enough to beat Patrick Mahomes, and the Kansas City Chiefs played very well. Josh Allen played very well. James Cook had a good game. Buffalo's not going anywhere. I think New England's right there with them, so it's kind of lit a fire under them. But this is Buffalo's game to win. Miami right now, obviously Chris Greer was fired this past week. It's only a matter of time before Mike McDaniel takes the axe. I think at the end of the year, Mike McDaniel's gonna be fired. We'll see what they end up doing with Tua. Do they keep Tua as a bridge quarterback for the future? Obviously, everybody knows all the money they paid him, so that's looking like a disaster of a contract right now. But in this game, Buffalo's going to take care of business. They're going to keep going and they're going to keep rolling the AFC as they have their eyes on the number one seed in the AFC and an AFC East championship right now. So, yeah, give me the Buffalo Bills. Next up, it is a very intriguing interconference matchup, let me tell you. Two teams that could really use a win, to say the least. It is Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens taking on J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings. Let's start with the Ravens. Obviously, we start with the road team. The Ravens, they've won two straight now going into this game. Chicago, Miami. Lamar Jackson made his return for the first time since week 4 this past Thursday night. Obviously, he's on a 10-day rest now. It's a mini bye going to this game, so that gives him a little bit of a boost. Walked out there in South Beach on Thursday Night Football in Miami and absolutely tore it up. 4 touchdowns for Lamar Jackson. Looked like he hasn't skipped a beat. Derrick Henry had one of his best games of the year. Lamar Jackson was great. The Ravens, the consensus around them right now is that they are going to be making a comeback to that AFC North title. They are right behind Pittsburgh right now. So we'll see if they end up coming back versus Pittsburgh. They still play the Pittsburgh Steelers twice. They still play the Cincinnati Bengals twice. So that will be big, big stuff for the AFC North battle. But as for the Vikings, they got a big, big win last week against a divisional opponent in the Motor City in the Lions. JJ McCarthy was back. He played his first game since week 2. And he played well. Justin Jefferson was involved, Jordan Addison was involved, TJ Hawkinson caught a touchdown, and the Vikings ended up winning. They got back to 500. Carson Wentz stepped in for a few weeks, and it just was not enough for Kevin O'Connell's crew. Clearly, everybody and their mother knows that this team looked totally different when JJ McCarthy was on the field versus JJ McCarthy not being on the field. I'm not going to lie. I have no clue who's going to win this game. I think Justin Jefferson's going to be a big factor. I think Baltimore will have a tough time guarding both Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. I think this will be a big, big game for both those guys to show out, help JJ McCarthy in the pass game, and it'll be very interesting to see who wins this one. Obviously, when Lamar Jackson's back, they have their sights set on an AFC North title, and they know there is little room for error. That's the bottom line. But I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings. I don't really have reasoning for it. Most the consensus is going to be the Ravens right now. But what I saw in the Minnesota Vikings last week, I saw the Minnesota Vikings team I expected to see early in the year. The Minnesota Vikings team I expected to see coming into the season was a perennial NFC contender, a great team. I thought JJ McCarthy would step in and do exactly what Sam Darnold was doing. Obviously, that hasn't been the case. JJ McCarthy played his third game last week. Sam Darnold is doing great things in Seattle, which we'll talk about more in a few minutes here. But I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings at home in this game. I think being at US Bank Stadium will be a great environment. This should be an intriguing game for two teams in that really, 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 really need a win in their respective conferences. So, yeah, give me the Vikings in that one. Next up, it's pretty much a tank bowl, but it is a big game for draft positioning at that point. It is the Cleveland Browns taking on the New York Jets in MetLife Stadium. Both of these teams coming off a bye week, I believe. The last time we saw the Browns. When was the last time we saw the Browns? Oh, the last time we saw the Browns, they lost to the Patriots. That's right. Drake May, close game in the first half, and he kind of blew the door open towards the end. Patriots rolled. And last time we saw the Jets, they beat my Cincinnati Bengals, obviously. Everybody knows it. But The story in this game is most people probably be on Cleveland in this game because of how good Cleveland's defense is. Obviously, Jim Schwartz runs a tight ship. He runs a very, very good unit over there. But at the same time, you look at Cleveland's offense. Cleveland's offense is an absolute disaster. It's an absolute disaster. Dylan Gabriel has not really shined since he's been in there. I think at some point in the next few weeks here, maybe week 12, week 13, we'll end up seeing Shador Sanders make his first start. So that will be very interesting. The Shador fans will be very, very excited about that. As for the Jets, they're coming off a bye. They're coming off some mojo. I know it's against the Bengals defense and take it with a grain of salt, but everybody saw how active they were at the trade deadline. Yesterday, no more Quentin Williams, no more Sauce Gardner. So this will be obviously a bad team for the remainder of the year. But I expect to see Justin Fields in this game. I don't think Aaron Glenn's officially announced that, but I expect it to be Justin Fields. I'm going to take the Jets. I'm going to take the Jets, I guess, in this game. They're at home at MetLife. I think it will be a boost for them. I think getting some mojo, and they're now well rested, getting some mojo before the bye, beating the Bengals will be a boost for them. I think Justin Fields will play decent. I don't think he'll obviously tear the Browns up like he did the Bengals because the Browns defense is a whole other monster than the Bengals. If the Bengals offense and the Browns defense combined, they'd literally be a Super Bowl contender. But that's besides the point. I'm going to take the Jets in this game to roll. And yeah, give me New York. Next up, we have arguably the best game of the entire weekend. There's three I circle right here, and right here. But one of the best games, easily the best game in the 1 o'clock window, one of the best games the entire weekend. It is the New England Patriots, who are 6-2 in the AFC right now, or actually they 7-2. They're 7-2 right now because they played 9 games in the AFC, taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, well rested off the bye in Raymond James Stadium. For the Patriots, obviously the whole story right now around them is they've won 6 games in a row. Started the season 1-2. They've been rolling. Given it's been against some pretty weak teams. It has. They beat the Browns and that stretch. They beat who else did they beat? They did beat the Bills, but they beat the Falcons, they beat the Browns. I mean, they beat the Titans. So it's been some pretty weak teams. This is their biggest test of the season so far, in my opinion. I know Buffalo's great, but when you look at divisional matchups, those teams know each other well, and those teams always play close. When it's an opposite conference matchup like this in on the road versus Tampa Bay, a team well rested, this is their toughest game of the season. I'm going to take the Bucks in this one. I think being off the bye would be a big boost for them. We'll see about Bucky Irving. We'll see if he's able to suit up. But either way, I think Rachaad White is a very viable backup. Mike Evans done for the year at this point, but either way, Emeka Egbuka needs to really bloom into that number one wide receiver, and he has. Chris Godwin needs to really put his foot on the gas at this point. He's been back for a few weeks. He's pretty much healthy now. He needs to put on his foot on the gas and be a viable wide receiver two option for Tampa Bay at this point. Cade Otton had some good games going into the bye. But I think this would be the point New England falls right here. I picked against them last week. I picked against them again in the Tennessee game. I'm picking against them again here. If they don't lose this one, I'm staking my. I mean, if they win this one, I'm staking my claim. I'm saying New England Patriots will win the AFC East if they win this game. That's my claim. They still have Buffalo to play once. They still play the Jets twice. I think they play next Thursday night actually. Um, but I'm staking my claim. I'm saying the Patriots, if they win this game, they are winning the AFC East, and they might have a shot for the number one seed based off how weak their schedule is. But in this game, I'm taking Tampa Bay to roll here in Raymond James Stadium, well rested off the bye, and Baker gets the win. Next up, it is a rematch of a few Thursday night footballs ago. Week 4, I think they play on Thursday night. It is the Arizona Cardinals, who are now led by Jacoby Brissett, taking on the Seattle Seahawks to start the 4 o'clock window off in the NFC West. The Cardinals, they lost 5 straight going into the Dallas game, and this past Monday, they played well against Dallas. Obviously, Dallas's defense, the 31st ranked defense in the league, and they're a disaster in their own, but they played well. Marvin Harrison Jr. probably had his best performance of the entire season. Jacoby Brissett played very well. The games he stepped in, the Cardinals have looked much more viable. Even in the 5 game losing streak, they were very, very, very competitive in all 5 of those games. So the Cardinals, given their record, they're no pushover. So Jonathan Gannon might be coaching to save his job at this point. So we'll see how they play. As for the Seahawks, the hype rate right now for them is through the roof. I mean, I can't say enough about that. I was wrong about the Seattle Seahawks. When they hired Mike Macdonald, I was a huge fan of that hire. I was. But I thought bringing in Sam Darnold, I thought Sam Darnold would not repeat what he did in Minnesota last year with Kevin O'Connell. and arguably he's done better. I mean, obviously JSN is having a career year thus far. Torrey Horton's stepped up as a viable option. Cooper Kupp's still there. They just traded for Rashid Shaheed, who is a blow the top off the defense speedster. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet in the backfield, one of the better defenses in the National Football League, and they are playing great. When this game was in Arizona on Thursday Night Football, I picked the Cardinals, and I'm doing it again. And you know what? I am 79-55-1. We're taking some risks at this point. That's just how it's gonna go. I don't know if the Cardinals are gonna win this game. I'm taking them on the road. I am. I'm taking them on the road. I think Jacoby Brissett has made them look like a much more competitive team. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. needs to play well in this game. They want to win. I think Trey McBride is obviously a very good tight end, and I think that Jacoby Brissett has made them a better team. He's obviously looking. Marvin Harrison Jr. is looking miles better with Jacoby Brissett than he was Kyler Murray, and they're a better team with Jacoby Brissett right now. So if Jacoby Brissett wants to go out there and prove Jonathan Gannon right for replacing Kyler Murray with Jacoby Brissett, I think he's going to do it, and they look like a much better offense with him. So I'm taking Arizona in this game. It's done Seattle, and kind of bring Seattle back down to earth. This doesn't really change my opinion on Seattle for the year. I have never called them a Super Bowl contender. I am still not calling them a Super Bowl contender, but I'm taking Arizona in this game. Next up, it is another NFC West matchup and also arguably the best matchup of the weekend. You can argue that Burkhardt and Brady will be on the call for this one on Fox. It's a rematch of Week 5 Thursday Night Football. It is the Los Angeles Rams taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams, they are coming off of a win versus Tyler Shuck in his first start. Matthew Stafford ripping it apart. I mean, Puka Nacua had a touchdown catch. Devontae Adams was getting involved. And Matthew Stafford should be in the forefront of the MVP conversation with Jonathan Taylor, with Jonathan Taylor, with Drake May, with Patrick Mahomes. And with Josh Allen, I think Matthew Stafford should be right in that conversation this year in the MVP conversation. Kind of similar to the Cardinals, I picked the Rams in the Week 5 Thursday Night Football game. San Francisco ended up winning. That was kind of the Mac Jones backup quarterback. He was gritty. He was getting banged up all game, and the 49ers ended up winning that game. The Niners right now, they're sitting at 6-3, I believe. 6-3, or are they 5-3? No, they're 6-3. They got to be 6-3. Mac Jones has stepped in for Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's feeling been off and on. It feels like he's been questionable going to the games. He just hasn't stepped in yet. This might be a soft benching. Who knows? I don't necessarily think it's soft benching. Obviously, Brock Purdy's a $50 million guy, but yeah, I think the Rams have an argument to be the best team in the entire National Football League right now. I think they are clearly a Super Bowl contender out of the NFC. Now I'm taking the Rams right now. I'm a big fan of what Matthew Stafford's doing. I drafted him in the 15th round of my fantasy league this year in my big league, and I drafted him in the 15th round to be my quarterback. And man, oh man, has he delivered! That might be my best fantasy draft pick of all time. But next week it will be Rams versus Seahawks, which will be very intriguing. I mean, Rams versus Seahawks, that's kind of the battle. It's a huge game going into week 11 next week, but I'm taking the Rams right now to take down San Francisco and get a sweep on the season series. Next up, we have a rematch of the NFC divisional round last year. It is the Detroit Lions taking on the Washington Commanders. Obviously, I'm going to go through this one pretty quick. Everybody knows the Washington Commanders story right now. Jaden Daniels pretty much done for the entire season, if not most of the entire season. Gruesome elbow injury last week. Detroit has a fire lit under them because of the loss last week. Lost to Minnesota in a gritty game. Detroit sitting at 5-3. Their division is razor tight. I'm not picking against Dan Campbell in this game. I think Jared Goff's due for a very big game. I think we're going to see a similar Jared Goff stat line that we saw Sam Darnold. I just think the Commander season is a wrap. Obviously, that's kind of the consensus around the National Football League right now. And it's just kind of like as bad as you could have hoped for a sophomore season. Jaden Daniels dealt with injuries. I mean, Austin Eckler went out during the year. Terry McLaurin's dealt with injuries all year. Deebo Samuel's had to deal with injuries. It's just been a disaster for Washington and Dan Quinn as a whole. I think Detroit's going to roll in this game, get it done, and get a big win on the road in Maryland. Next up, we have an AFC playoff matchup. These two teams are in the playoff picture right now on Sunday Night Football. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Steelers, obviously Aaron Rodgers. They are sitting at 5-3 right now going into this game. They suffered a few losses in a row to the Bengals, to the Packers, but got a little bit of a rebound against the Colts, who are pretty much everybody's number one team in their power rankings going in. They shut down Jonathan Taylor, as I said during the Colts game. Mike Tomlin had a plan and he executed it to a T. Is anybody in disagreement that the Steelers are going to be 9-8 at the end of the year? I don't think there's any reason to disagree with it right now. The Steelers are going to be 9-8 at the end of the year. Mike Tomlin's going to fulfill his prophecy of continuing to go over 500, and that's going to be the Steelers' record at that point. As for the Chargers going into this game's obviously in SoFi. The big injury coming out of last week's game versus the Titans was Joe Alt. Their offense runs on Joe Alt. That's the bottom line. Joe Alt. They lost Rashawn Slater in the preseason, who was one of the best tackles in the league. I believe right before he got hurt, they extended it to be the highest paid offensive tackle of all time in the NFL. In Joe Alt, though, some injuries this year, they looked like a significantly different offense without Joe Alt there. Joe Alt missed a few games, and that was kind of at the time when the Chargers were starting to lose it a little bit. They started 3-0, lost a few games in a row, were in a dogfight with Miami at one point, and when Joe Alt's not out there, they're a totally different team. I believe in Justin Herbert. I think he's an outstanding quarterback, obviously. I believe in Ladd McConkey. I believe in Johnston. I believe in Trey Harris. I think Hampton will be back in a few weeks. Kamani Vidal stepped in decently. But I think they're going to miss the playoffs. I do. I think Joe Wall is a huge injury, pretty much kills their season. With how competitive the AFC is, nobody disagrees right now that the Kansas City Chiefs aren't going to be in the playoffs. Kansas City Chiefs are sitting at 5-4 right now. They're looking outside the playoff picture. They're going to be in. I honestly think they might run the table and go 13-4. They might come out of the bye and not lose another game. That's the thing. So I'm taking the Steelers in this game. I think the Chargers will end up missing the playoffs at the end of the year. I think the three divisional wins at the beginning of the year obviously are key, and it's a big boost for them to end up being in the playoffs. But they already have a win versus Denver, and they're behind Denver in the standings. I mean, I don't have any confidence in the Chargers right now, and I'm taking the Steelers to win this game on the road on Sunday Night Football. And to finish off the week, it is the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. As for the Eagles, they're well rested off the bye. They're sitting at 6-2 right now. They're reeling a little bit. They lost to the Giants. And everybody's kind of hitting the panic button. Does AJ Brown want out? Does this, that, blah, blah, blah. Saquon Barkley wasn't playing well. Right before the bye, they got a win versus the Giants, the game that Cam Scatterbo went out in. Saquon Barkley played very well. AJ Brown got his. Devontae Smith got his. And the Eagles looked like the Eagles. And they looked like the defending champs. As for the Packers, they're coming off their second loss of the year. They're for the first team to go to two losses. I mean the last one loss team to go to two losses. Well, Indy had one loss going actually. Never mind. But a very gritty defensive game versus the Carolina Panthers last week. The Carolina Panthers just did enough. I mean, their defense played well. Jordan Love looked lost on that field. I mean, he was making bad throws. I saw a bunch of clips. I wasn't really watching the game last week versus the Panthers because I was watching the Bengals game, but there was a lot of errant throws. He threw a bad interception at one point. He threw one that across the field. It looked like there was nobody even in the area. I don't know what Jordan Love was looking at last week. I'm taking the Eagles in this game. I think Saquon's due for a big game. This is a playoff rematch. These teams know each other well for the past few years. They played in Brazil last year in week one. They played in the wild card rounds. The Eagles won both of those games. And I'm taking them again. I'm taking them again. I'm taking Philly on the road on Monday Night Football in Lambeau to get the win and hand the Packers a second straight loss. I do believe that I don't know if I believe the Packers will miss the playoffs, but I think it will be closer than people think at the end of the year. I think they're going to suffer some losses down the stretch a little bit here, but we'll see if they can end up sneaking in. As for my lock, I am taking Buffalo over Miami, and my upset, I am taking Arizona over Seattle. That is my full week 10. We're already at week 10. Jesus, football goes by like this, let me tell you. Um, yeah, so that's the pick of recap real quick. Denver, Indianapolis, Carolina, Chicago, Jacksonville, Buffalo, Minnesota, New York Jets, Tampa Bay, Arizona, Los Angeles Rams, Detroit, Pittsburgh, and Philly with 4 byes. Cincinnati, Dallas, Kansas City, Tennessee on bye. So yeah, those are this week's picks. NFL, please slow down. I am asking you, from everybody is asking you, please slow down. I am not ready for football to end. Before you know it, it'll be basketball season. We'll be watching the NBA All-Star break. We'll be watching March Madness before you know it. But we're rolling now. We are in November. We are in week 10. So yeah, let's take a look at this week's power rankings. Then we'll hop up out of here. So here are your week 10 NFL power rankings. And here are your week 10 power rankings for the season. Let's go through them for a few minutes here before we hop off. A new number one, again, it's the Los Angeles Rams. I think they're the best team in the league right now. Buffalo goes up 9 spots with the win over Kansas City, followed by Kansas City, Seattle, New England cracks top five, I believe, for the first time all season. But they played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are right after them this week. Tampa Bay's coming off the bye, followed by Indianapolis, Detroit. Both those teams drop after a bad game they're coming off of, followed by Denver and Philly. I think Philly, you could argue they could be higher. Same thing with Denver, but right now I'm gonna keep them there for now. They got a Denver coming off a win versus Houston, Philly coming off the bye. Green Bay, Pittsburgh, San Francisco stays the exact same, followed by the Chargers going down two. Um, really because of the Joe All injury, even coming off the win versus Tennessee, I don't think that really boosts them all that much. Baltimore right in the thick of things now with Lamar Jackson back, sitting at 3-5, followed by Jacksonville. Is that the right is that the right color for Jacksonville? I don't know if that's the right color with the team colors and all that, but Carolina, Minnesota, they both increase with their wins. Chicago stays the same, followed by Houston. Arizona going up 6 spots with the win, followed by Atlanta. Dallas, Washington down 2 spots. You could argue Washington could be lower, but I kept them there for now. Followed by the Giants. The Bengals stay the same. I know. People will be like, oh, you're biased, keeping the Bengals the same. Yeah. I mean, their defense sucks, generationally bad. What more do you want me to say? I think they're above those teams below them in the power rankings right now. Strictly because their offense, man. I mean, but yeah, followed by Cleveland, New York Jets, the Raiders, Dolphins go down 5 spots, New Orleans, and Tennessee caps off the number 32 for the however many time this season. But yeah, that is your week 10 picks and power rankings for the week. We are, as I said, rolling through the season at this point. We are getting towards the middle of the year. We're already past the midway point. Actually, trade deadline's passed. We're past the midway point. But we're getting towards the end of the season. Before you know, we're going to be in December. We're going to be talking about NFL Thanksgiving. We're going to be talking about NFL Christmas, and we're going to be talking about NFL playoffs on this channel before you know it. So, yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy today's video, please like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications for more content exactly like this. Obviously, we have the 365 recap weekly on Tuesdays. We have game picks weekly on Thursdays. And yeah, it's been fun recording these things all weird. Now I'm going to get this video edited. I'm going to get the thumbnail made, and it's scheduled for later tomorrow afternoon. So, yeah, I hope you guys have a great night. Enjoy this weekend of football, college football, NFL. Should be a big weekend ahead. And as always, go Bengals.